Welcome back to HL Restorations Impacting Midwest Industries. I'm your host, Steve Tutt. Let's get to it. Well, welcome, Andy. This is I'm glad to have you on the show. We got Andy Rieger with us, Jay Rieger. That's located in the West Bottoms, correct?
East Bottoms.
East Bottoms, I'm sorry. And we'll get to that here in a minute.
If we were around 100 years ago right now, we'd be located in the West Bottoms, but today,
True.
no dice.
It's the East Bottoms.
Lots of flooding happened down there. You guys would have done really well back then in those days.
Yeah, we probably would have.
You could have just set up shop and only assisted businesses in the West Bottoms in those flooding years.
Well, I want to tell everybody that I actually went to the BOMA event and got to see you speak and talk about the company.
It's like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it was probably a year and a half ago because, heck, we didn't get to do anything last year.
Yeah.
You know, but I found that very interesting. Had a lot of fun, and we went down afterwards to your location. So, but tell the group. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about the history and the story because it goes back to 1887, correct?
Yeah. So the whole brand J. Rieger & Co. was similar to what the immigrant story of America was. My triple great grandfather was Jacob, the J in the name, and Jacob started this distillery in Kansas City back in 1887 in the West Bottoms. The West Bottoms was sort of the hub for business back then because the original train station in Kansas City was Union Depot, and that was located down there right off 12th Street.
Right.
That was sort of a big draw for bringing people in, but then you also had the livestock exchange in that neighborhood. So all the cowboys fresh off the cattle drives would just drop the cattle off, and they'd have all their money, and so need to go spend it somewhere. So the easier you make it for them to spend their money, and you have travelers coming in, it was sort of the hub for business. But like we talked about and joked about at the beginning, the idea of being low waters area, and it always flooded in the West Bottoms. So being that the train station had to shut down periodically, they relocated train station to where we know Union Station to be today. That sort of sparked this surge of what we now know as the Crossroads, and it was called the Crossroads because that's where the train station was built.
Right.
And Jacob Rieger's son, Alexander, at that time in 1914, was running the distillery, and he bought a plot of land just north of there, built a hotel for train travelers, and Prohibition hit 5 years later, killed the distillery. They sold the hotel off. Then a restaurant started in the old hotel space, unrelated to me. In 2010, they called it the Rieger. We started connecting and talking, and the idea was thrown around to restart the foundation of the entire brand, the distillery. And 4 years after we started talking about it and joking about it, it became a reality in 2014. And here we are today in 2021, doing a big expansion. We're in 22 states by now.
22 states.
22 states, and we make some pretty good booze. We're fortunate one of our founding partners ran Maker's Mark for 14 years.
Right.
One of our partners ran Tanqueray for 20 years. So we really were able to get a lot of good people that know what they're doing and know how to make good alcohol, and just being able to make it the right way, the fun way, tell the history, and make sure people have a good time.
Now, I can vouch that you got good alcohol.
Well, that's
one of my favorite drinks is the horse feather, and I got some of that from you. It was really good.
In moderation, of course.
Oh, of course. I don't ever abuse that. But I think it's a neat location down where you're at. I got to visit it. I think a lot of you people that haven't been down there, please make time to go down there because there's a lot to your building. I mean, not only are you a distillery, but you have a lounge, you have a hey club. Kind of go into that and kind of explain to people what that all
so
entails.
when we started out the brand and the resurrection of it, we started just purely as manufacturing, and then as we had the need to expand, the property that we were on, we were right next to a beautiful old historic structure. It was 50,000 square feet, 3 floors, brick, and it was actually a bottling hall for an old brewery. And that building, we were sort of the caretaker of it when we were in the building that was the annex of it for so long. And the building that was the historic one had nothing in it. It was completely a box. Really no working utilities. It was just one of those sad buildings of Kansas City, boarded up. Saw so much potential in it. It was so beautiful of a building. It just needed a lot of TLC. So when we wanted to do our expansion, we first started out with what do we really need on the production side? And then that led us to, well, look at all the square footage that we're going to have available to do something else in. So that sort of turned our mind as small business into, similar to your guys' office and how it's a great office that people want to come to and enjoy. We sort of felt the same way. We had to do something and build something that wasn't just a manufacturing facility that you can come down and see where this product is made, because we felt that wasn't enough. It was a neighborhood that people aren't used to going to, and so you have to give them a real reason to not only want to come down the first time, but to where when they come down that first time, they then have such a great time and they see all the things that they didn't experience that they say, I want to come back and do it again, and I know how I would perfect my experience when I go there next.
Right.
So that sort of made us look at it as if we were real estate developers, and rather than buying, the entire neighborhood and building buildings everywhere, we just said, you know what? Let's have it where people park, get out of their Uber, whatever it is, and as soon as they walk into the door, we provide all these different experiences within our building so that you can come down here and this is your district for the night. Similar to you might go to the Plaza or Westport or the Crossroads or Waldo, whatever that is that you're doing for the night, you come down, you're in one place, that is your experience. So having different things to do on site, we've got a 3,500 square foot historical exhibit that we allow people to have drinks in. So people will grab drinks, walk around, look at the historical exhibit. It's not a very normal thing to go to a museum with an alcoholic drink, so people have a really good time with that.
Right.
We have tours. Obviously, we have a huge manufacturing floor on display. We have the gift shop. All that's pretty normal and standard. But then we have a dining room in our barrel warehouse that's for 16 people, and you're literally inside of a fishbowl surrounded by barrels completely, and it's all climate controlled. That's a cool experience. We have a slide.
That's what I was going to say. Don't leave out the slide.
I know. So the slide is, for you adults watching, and hopefully it's all adults, you joke about a slide, and then until you have a couple of drinks as an adult, and you see the slide as an opportunity to go from the second floor to the first floor, and you say, do I take the stairs or do I take the slide?
You take the slide.
It's almost 100% success rate on that.
Yeah.
But we've got a 5,000 square foot lounge upstairs that is more like a full service restaurant. There's a boardroom that's got 22 seats in it that's got full AV that we have companies come out and rent all the time. The basement has a Hey Hey Club, which is like a jazz social lounge. We have live music.
I'm going to stop you right there. Who came up with the Hey Hey? Hey Hey Club. That is the neatest thing ever, and I just love saying it.
So the Hey Hey Club, again, everything we do is really tied to history. The building, we tell it through the historical exhibit, the brand, etc. The Hey Hey Club's no different. So the Hey Hey Club was actually a jazz club in Columbus Park from 1931 to 1939, and it was where Count Basie got his start. So the Hey Hey Club's rich history in Kansas City's jazz scene is very profound, but the cool thing about the Hey Hey Club was it created such an impression that in Robert Altman's 1996 movie Kansas City, the Hey Hey Club was a featured club or bar, lounge, whatever you want to call it, in that movie. And so when he did that, he actually misspelled the name Hey Hey Club. We don't know if that was intentional or by accident, but the original Hey Hey Club was Heyhay Club. That was because the seats were all made out of hay bales. So in the new one, they also had signs in the movie, and they misspelled it in the signs. So actually my co-founder, Ryan Maybe, he was at an antique store and saw this old Hey Hey Club sign and roughly knew the history of the Hey Hey Club, but not fully, but thought it was such a cool sign, bought it thinking it was from the original. It wasn't. It was from the movie, so it had a cool story to it. And we redid the electrical inside of this 14-foot long box sign. And when we redid the electrical and we were planning the building, we knew we wanted to have a bar in the basement. We were trying to think of inspiration for what it could be that would be so much different than the bar on the second floor. And the Hey Hey Club just couldn't get out of our minds. And we felt we could just take that, twist it, and just make it something that was so cool and so different. But really, we wanted that basement bar to be something that you could transplant it to any city in the entire world, and it would work.
Now, do you have, I can't remember, do you have a space there for like bands to come in and stuff?
Yeah, so there's, in the Hey Hey Club, there is.
So do you have a lot of gigs and stuff, people coming in and doing?
On the weekends, we do live music right now, and that's sort of the way it's been. You know, before COVID, the Hey Hey Club on the weekends was packed from 6 to 11:30, Fridays and Saturday nights, so you really didn't have room for live music. And so we've got, a sound system down there, and that was an experience people were really excited for, is just the vibe of all the people. But when you're sort of in the middle of COVID and you're trying to make sure that people have an experience that gets them excited to want to go out and have an experience, that's where the live music has really come into play. But we've had a lot of live music down there. We've had people take the upstairs and do live music. And so the whole building in general, we're right next door to Knuckleheads. So live music's a very known commodity in our neighborhood.
Now, also, you can say, like, companies like us that like to entertain our clients, things like that, we can actually come down and rent space from you, right, and entertain them there?
Yeah, everything that we have, we always say, nothing is an event space, but everything is an event space.
Right.
And so everything has a primary purpose, but private events always happen. And I mean, in the fourth quarter of 2019, we were packed. Some days we had 5 private events going on at the exact same time in the building. So it's a really large space in general. I mean, events from 10 people to, well, we've had 850 person events.
Yeah.
So we just are really able to accommodate a lot.
It's an amazing space. You have to go check this out.
You hear that, Ash?
It's an amazing space. Now, tell us a little bit, because we brought this up in Boma and a lot of it, property managers and owners and stuff. It seems like there's a shift of people buying property down in your area now. And is that being... Do you feel a shift going that way, or...
No, I wish that were the case. One of the things when we were deciding the real build-out plan, being that there was no other real, other than Knuckleheads, which is very event-specific. You're going for a specific concert. You're not going there for happy hour after work for a work meeting. So when you think about there's no real draw, you sort of had to create that draw. And the initial progression of building a building in an area or redeveloping a building in an area that no one goes to with natural foot traffic, most of the time, a lot of the people that think about that put one thing down there. And they're like, hopefully this sparks development. And that was our initial thought. And so the upstairs was going to be our only bar. And it was just going to be a bar. We weren't even going to do food. We were just going to do mixed nuts and things like that because we wanted to spark development. Then the fear came, well, what if this isn't enough in the initial couple of years before development really happens to where people don't come down? Right. Then development doesn't occur. So we added a kitchen. And then it was, what if development doesn't ever happen down here? So then we started to get into that developer mindset of, we just need to act like it's never going to happen, because then we're going to build our own critical mass. And then we're not going to be reliant on other stuff. And then if we build that critical mass, that hopefully should open up the opportunity for future development. But you're sort of in this marketplace right now where, coming out of COVID, these values on buildings are going to be depressed. You're looking for tenants in spaces. So I kind of think we're going to get knocked down a little bit on the priority list for areas that have natural foot traffic, but who knows, right?
Yeah. So I know, share if you can. If you can, I totally get it. But what are some of the exciting things right around the corner for you guys in the company? Are you trying to add anything down there? But not that it needs it, but I mean... Yeah, you're always trying to keep up with the...
Yeah, so one of the, just a really high-level thing overall that won't go into too much detail, but we're planning right now the third and final, more or less, permanent space that we had always talked about doing, and it'll be outdoor-focused. And so that was something that on the original plans for how the development needed to come into play, we felt that we needed it, because then you really have your true diversity of spaces. You have your loud social lounge that's large upstairs, you have your intimate cocktail bar in the basement, and then you have your outdoor experience as well.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple other questions here, because when looking back, what's the one thing that you would do differently if you had the chance to do it? Because the facility is amazing, but I mean, you always get in here and like, you know what? What if we would have done this or done that? Can you think of anything top of your head?
One thing that we would have done differently, this sounds silly, but we probably would have started bigger to begin with, because you can only grow so much and force growth to force yourself to take the next step. And
right.
But if we had started faster and sort of, there's really two standard models, and we don't really fit either one as to how distilleries grow. One is people don't care about the brand. It's all about the manufacturing capacity, the growth. They try to build it as fast as they can. Again, there's no real love for the brand, and it's a play to try to make it get sold quickly. These are people that have physical spaces, not the people that just are marketing companies that start a brand. They don't ever touch the product. Then the other one is just the really small model of, you start as a bar and you make some alcohol in the back, and that's what most of the people do. But for us, we wanted to be that asset-based brand. We wanted to be the thing that really built community, that really focused on it, and it was the right approach 6 years down the line. I mean, I really believe that we did everything right, and I really wouldn't force any changes. But if I were to redo it again, I would probably start bigger, just so that we weren't trying to constantly grow into ourselves or feel like we had to push ourselves to grow immediately.
The whole thing is that I've been to a couple distilleries in the past, but they're nothing like your guys's? I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot. You've visited a lot of distilleries. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything out there that's even remotely
No.
close to what you guys are doing?
No, I mean, so
Are you setting a new standard? I should say.
I understand the question. And what I will say is that the way that we've built our company and the way that we have decided to release products and the way that we have decided to treat distribution and consumers and distributors is not your standard model. And a lot of the things that some of the people on our team that have been around in this industry for a long time, they all sort of attribute that a little bit to, I'm an outsider and I didn't come from this industry.
Right.
And so they say how it typically works, and then I start poking and prodding saying, well, why don't we do it this way? And they're like, well, I don't know, it kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, there's no reason why we couldn't. And so when you think about it from who we are as a company overall, and then, we're really talking the intricacies of how you run a business is boring.
Right.
But when people come down and they get to see the space and they get to see how we actually did it and how we present it to the public from the physical space itself, not the virtual space of us dealing with distribution networks and bartenders and liquor stores and grocery stores, people haven't ever really merged the development idea with the manufacturing idea. And that was the only way, for us, we were very niche and very special. We had to do something different in order to bring people to that neighborhood and want to come down to that neighborhood. The thing that I can really relate it to the most are these, think of Kroenke out in Los Angeles. He builds SoFi Stadium, and he builds all of this entertainment around it as well. So what is the real feature? Well, the real feature is the stadium. The stadium is the bread and butter, but you have all these other things so that you can capture people and you make people want to spend their entire night down there.
Right.
They're not just going to a football game. They're going to a restaurant before the game. They're going to the football game, and then they're going to a bar after the football game. And so you can really just say, this is where you are going to be tonight. We are going to control your experience from the time you walk through the initial gate, not the gate to the stadium, and you bring people in. They do their experience how they want to do it, however that is, and then they leave, but they don't leave the district. And that's really more or less the way that we have tried to design it in a way that fits adults. We don't have people there taking shots. We don't have $3 gin tonics. You're not going to get punched in the face by a drunk guy at the bar. And so it's the space that you have people that are in their early 20s that want to have a good time. You have people in their mid 70s that want to have a good time. And it's just this shared experience that it's really fun to see. And I'll say fun to see in normal times.
Right.
It's really depressing in COVID.
Well, let's switch it because, I was kind of disappointed because we couldn't, bring the podcast and vlog down to your location and, have some drinks while we're having a podcast. And thought maybe that you bring some drinks in, but you didn't. But I'm not going to hold that against you, Andy.
Just so we know, we're recording this at 9:15 in the morning. So.
Yes, this is true. But like I was telling you, you do have some really neat drinks. What's the neatest drink that you guys ever pre-mixed? Because I buy your horse feather one, but what's one of your favorites that you've mixed?
I really don't deal on the bar side as much, and so we did the horse feather is sort of our bread and butter. The horse feather actually started. It was an original cocktail that was called the Horse's Neck. And the horse feather then originated in Lawrence, Kansas. And so it was a real sort of lost classic cocktail that has a really good tie to the Kansas City general area, if you consider Lawrence, which is great.
I don't even know where Lawrence is.
It's a great institution. And we just wanted to, this goes a little bit with the company, we really wanted to have an identity behind the whiskey. And so a cocktail that doesn't clearly have a path that people understand, but is so easy to make and something that is so delicious to whiskey drinkers and non-whiskey drinkers alike, that the horse feather was just as perfect fitting because it had the history behind it. It was forgotten about, similar to our brand,
right?
But it's got three components in it. It's ginger beer, whiskey, and bitters, and then you just garnish it with a lemon poured over ice. People can make it at home. So rather than having a cocktail that's your specialty cocktail that you get behind that's got components that you've never even heard of or can't pronounce, then you've done wonders. So that horse feather is one that's just bread and butter. It speaks to everybody. We did during the Super Bowl. We did.
I heard you had
a Red Kingdom cocktail, big bottled cocktail. and people just went nuts over that.
What was it? What was in it?
I don't even know. I know.
You don't even know?
I know it was whiskey based.
Now you dodged the question. What was your favorite drink that you guys make? Now, if you sit there and tell me that you don't drink, this interview's done. I mean, I know you have to drink.
Well, so if we're talking about something that, so spirits wise, my favorite spirit that we make is actually our gin. I just think it's in the summertime with an ice cube and an orange garnish and just gin in the glass, not even anything else. It's awesome to just sip on.
Right.
Cocktails down at the distillery. So whenever I have, quick meetings, we'll meet. We have these really cool tables in our historical exhibit. I'll just have whoever's coming down midday even. We've got little mini cocktail glasses. And so you come down, you say, I just want to talk for 10 minutes or drop something off. I'll say, you want to grab a drink real quick? And whenever you're in a distillery and someone says, do you want to have a drink real quick? Even if it's the middle of the workday, people are usually like, yeah, I do actually. That sounds
I do.
When in Rome. So I'll always we just have old fashions on draft. And so it's just really easy to be able to get a perfectly made old fashioned, just and serve it to me and serve it to the guest. And we'll go sit down at the table. They're little, half cocktail sizes.
Yeah.
And you're good to keep going with your day, and you don't feel like you need to start drinking the rest of the day.
Yeah. Now, you do have tours of the facility. I want to plug that. Is that just open all day long,
No, so,
every day, or how's that work?
And everything with COVID's really messed up right now.
Yeah.
Tours overall, right now, it's you own your entire tour. So if you wanted to bring your company down, you'd be capped at 10 people. But if you wanted to bring one person from your company down, you would be just 2 people on the tour.
Okay.
And so we don't cross-mingle groups right now. The tours are online, so that's purely the retail team that just makes sure that works and functions properly. But on the weekends, they sell out every weekend. But during normal times, the tours are 20 people. You're mixed with other groups. We, on the weekends, would do them every 45 minutes. Tour. You get to watch the historical video, tour the whole facility, tasting of the core products. And so those are always a lot of fun. And, for the people that are wanting to really come down and get the real experience,
right.
Sure, you can come down now, but man, it's a lot of fun to be down there at that facility when people are really excited to be socializing.
No, it was a good time down there with the Boma group. So it was very fun.
We try to drink good alcohol, right? Drink good alcohol amongst good friends and
right.
be in a good space.
Now I'm gonna give you a chance to steal this because my wife came up with this, so she'll be proud that I shared this with you. You know there's little ice cubes that you can buy, little ice cube trays with make a little round ball.
Sure.
She filled them all up with lime.
Okay.
Or lime and then froze them.
Yep.
And she puts them in my horse feather. See there?
Is that too much?
Nope, actually it isn't because you keep it in there after a few drinks. I mean, I have more than one. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but,
no, that's great. It's perfect.
But
great customer.
That goes through, about 3 glasses. That little cube.
Okay,
it's a small little.
That's
cube.
really cool, actually.
Yeah.
I really like that. So does she just squeeze them, or does she buy the concentrated?
There's the real limes, and she'll cut them up and she'll squeeze them in.
Oh man, what a great wife!
She actually uses a syringe. like you feed your little kids.
Is she willing to do lessons for my wife?
Maybe I'll check.
Good. Sorry, honey.
Yeah. But Andy, it's been a pleasure, man. You have a fantastic business. The facility is just awesome. And we're going to put the address up, if you don't mind, on the screen.
Go for it.
So for people to come or go down there and check it out. Is there anything that you want to plug or anybody you want to have a shout out to while you're on the show? You got a great team, evidently, because you guys are knocking it out of the park.
Just remember that as you're watching this show, no matter what you're doing, local dollars, whether you're going to the liquor store, you're going to the grocery store, you're supporting a restaurant in Kansas City, pick your whiskey, pick your vodka, pick your gin accordingly, because that money stays in our community as opposed to every time you buy something that's not made here, about 50% of the money that you're spending just evaporates out of our economy. So not just us, but food providers, chain restaurants, not chain restaurants, businesses you're supporting, hardware stores, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right now we need it more than ever.
Most definitely. And guys, make sure you go and like, share, make sure you comment, let us know how we're doing. But the more shares you can do, the more we appreciate it. But Andy, thanks again for coming in the studio. It was a pleasure. And until next time, guys, we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.